phenomenal K-12 teachers and higher ed faculty in the country. And one of my major concerns is the dwindling number or the decline in teacher credentialing candidates that we've witnessed within the last 5 years. We have gone from 26,000 credential candidates to 20,000 in the last year. And whenever you see a decline in the number of teacher candidates, you can almost guess where that decline is going to occur the most drastically, and that's among teacher candidates of color, those who are Latino, those who are African American. And the recent engagement about what's happening in K-12 education, the punitive measures, the standardized exams, the accountability, when it creeps into higher education because of our close and necessary relationship between K-12 and higher ed, begins first in teacher education and in teacher preparation. So I'm going to address what I consider to be some of the most troubling, but that can also be the most promising trends in teacher education more recently. And if you haven't had a chance to look at some of the documents that are now coming out on how to change and transform teacher preparation, I urge you to look at that. Right after Arne Duncan issued his NCLB waiver process, the next day, on September 30th, he issued a document called Our Future, Our Teachers. Most recently, we saw a blueprint for clinical practice. So these things, and because of our relationship with K-12, has gotten a lot of teacher educators to begin to engage in a dialogue about what we want to see in teacher education. And like classroom teachers, we don't necessarily want to see punitive measures directed at teacher ed the same way that they had punitive measures against K-12 education. So I'm going to look at three things, and I'm going to tell you some of the problems that we see in the discussion or dialogue and some of the promises. I'm going to look at the following things. There seem to be three major trends or three major proposed recommendations in the pipeline for teacher preparation. One of them is this focus on what they're calling a clinical model, a practitioner model, a less, I would assume, a less university model and a more in-the-field model. The second is the issue of accountability, and the accountability in particular of teacher education programs. And the third, which I believe is the most promising, is this issue of recruitment and retention of future teachers. Here are the problems with the clinical model. I do not know a single teacher educator that when you talk to them and say to them, we really would love for you to engage more in K-12 settings, that would say to you, oh, no way, I don't want to be anywhere near a school or anywhere near a classroom. That is absolutely not going to happen. But here's the fear in moving directly into a clinical model without conversing with the teacher educators who you are going to force, quote unquote, into the field. In clinical models that we have in existence today, what we begin to see is a two-tier system. We begin to see that tenure line faculty like myself, right, don't want to be in the clinical model because their promotion and their evaluations are not based on how close they are to the teachers in the field. Their promotions and their retentions are based on the publications that they produce and put in journals that very few people but their students read. Until we can continue to until we take off this supposed model that says if you're a researcher, right, and your tenure line faculty and your promotions are based on this, then what's going to happen, and what's happening wherever these models are taking place, is that you begin to have retired teachers, retired administrators, part-time faculty, who have very little union rights, and believe me, some of us, we are unionized. I'm sure you've seen that in the news. They're going to be the ones that are doing this clinical practice. So you're going to have a group of people who are in the schools and a group of people who are not in the schools unless they're conducting research. So I think what we have to begin to look at if we're going to move into this direction is we have to redo the tenure and promotion system. And quite frankly, we still have academic freedom in the CFCU. Unlike our colleagues in K-12, unfortunately, who don't. We do. And so the only way you're going to negotiate these issues is by going to the academic settings. I think the other thing about the clinical model is that we need equitable partnerships so that when we move into induction models, we don't move the university out. What happens to us now is when we prepare our classroom teachers to go into the field, once they graduate, they leave us. And we have very little relationship with them unless we do joint research or unless we are also involved in induction programs. The districts then take over the entire induction process, the entire induction process. And in universities like my own where we try to have induction models, what begins to happen is that our teachers who want to come back to us for a master's or an advanced degree so they can move on that salary schedule will tell us, I'm sorry, I can't come to class today, I'm burned out because I have induction. And the district says, I need to be here for BITSA and I can't be here for CSUN. So what happens is those programs then disappear. What we need are equitable partnerships. And I would argue that those partnerships, particularly for Latino students, need to move beyond the partnership between the university and K-12 teachers and partnerships between the university and the parents of the students that we teach, so that we can engage in some models like what Maria Quesada presented today, so that we can move beyond the classroom as the clinic and look at the school community as the clinic. The other issue is the issue of accountability. We need to stay away from simplistic, hyper-accountability models of assessing teacher preparation programs. In the two latest documents, there are threats, and I say there are threats, but they're very real threats, to evaluate teacher education programs according to the test scores of the students who graduate from our program. So that our programs are going to be evaluated according to the K-12 scores of the students that we teach. Well, that's not going to help. We, first of all, don't control the working conditions of our class teachers once they leave. We don't control the curriculum that the districts impose upon our teachers that say these are the models that you're going to teach. Quite frankly, some curriculum models that are not research-based and that are not the types of programs that we teach in our teacher education program. So what we need performance and collaborative models, realistic, qualitative programs that will use our exit surveys, so that we use our exit surveys from the CSU. For example, we issue exit surveys as our students leave us and ask them, what do you think of the quality of the teacher education program? If that data is going to be used, we want it used by us so that we begin to look at that and then begin to think about how do we engage in more productive models. We need to have cultural and familial partnerships. And we need to engage in action research with our teachers. We need to treat our teachers as intellectuals that they are and engage in action research projects. Those are the accountability, the very real accountability measures that we want. We need time, resources, and opportunities to work alongside our K-12 colleagues. And we need practical, collaborative, clinical, and multiple opportunities to work alongside with them, including, and I'm very lucky this way, including working within the teachers' union and working with activist teachers to base our research on. I can tell you that the work that, and the relationships that I've built with my K-12 colleagues in this, and how that to me is accountability. Hold me accountable for working with my K-12 colleagues. Don't hold me accountable for a test score that we know doesn't work for K-12, so it's going to work much less for higher ed. On the issue of recruitment and retention, Some of the models or some of the programs or the blueprints that have come out lately have quite frankly been quite insulting to those of us in teacher education. And if you read the Our Future, Our Teachers, that in particular is insulting. It questions the caliber and the quality of teacher education candidates that we have in our program and that we have graduated. And I've got to tell you, I have graduated some of the most phenomenal, right-on, activist, classroom teachers who are not only committed to their subject matter, but are committed to the families and the communities that they teach. They are of the highest quality, and that includes Tony Mendoza, by the way. What irks me is that as we diversify our teacher education pool, then we begin to question about whether or not they're of highest quality. That bothers me. From a race-based perspective, that bothers me. So you're going to tell me you want more diversity in the teacher field, but then you're going to evaluate those teachers according to the test. But you're going to tell me that you want me to send my students into high-poverty urban settings, but then you're going to tell me that you're going to evaluate them and me according to a suspect test score. We need to embrace the students that we have in our teacher education programs. They are there because they care about the future of the education in this country and our students. We got to move beyond STEM. I embrace science and math projects. I think they are needed, but we are about to graduate a huge pool, retire a huge number of classroom teachers within the next few years. We have a window of opportunity right now to begin to develop programs that diversify the teaching workforce, and we're going to need much more than math and science teachers. So we need to move beyond the STEM. We need to have opportunities to engage in long-term models that begin with teacher academies in our high school, that create paraprofessional opportunities for when our students graduate high school and then go into college. We need university-wide teacher education programs, not just those housed in schools of education. We need joint induction models, and we need to work together in professional development. One of the things that interested me is when I read some of the things that were going on in LA, and I says, okay, well, if these schools are out of compliance, then why are we engaging those same folks in the development of professional development models? Shouldn't we move beyond the scope of the same folks who were held out of compliance? Shouldn't we work on this together? I mean, that to me is a real clinical model. Right? And then the last thing, and then I'll stop, is we need to quit the blame game, right? First, we blame teachers for the problems in public education. And now we're adding teacher preparation programs to the ills of an economically deprived education system. We need to quit pointing the finger. And we need to start thinking about constructive ways to build on the best practices, both in the K-12 classroom and in our teacher education classrooms. We need to engage in a collaborative process for transforming teacher education. We cannot do it from the top down. Just the way you have to talk to teachers about how to change the curriculum in K-12, you got to talk to teacher educators about how to change the education systems that prepare our nation's teachers. And that is not happening. In any of the documents that you read currently on a federal level, on a local level, and on a statewide level, they're not talking to the practitioner. We need to do that because we're most intimately connected to our teachers. These are our students, and this is what we want to do.
Thank you, Teresa. Now we'd like to bring up Dr. Paula Lovo, who is the Executive Director of Teacher Support Services for the Ventura County Office of Education. Dr. Lovo has taught K-12 and has 16 years administrative experience at the school site and county office levels. The primary mission of Teacher Support Services is to support the Ventura County Office of Education, local districts, other teacher employers, and local universities in the recruitment, hiring, assigning, and retaining of highly effective teachers. The department provides credential programs to more than 600 candidates annually, making it one of the largest district county office credentialing programs in our state. Please help me welcome Dr. Paula Lobo.
I'm really glad to be here. Really glad to know the panelists. I was sort of, when you're asked to do something, you wonder if you're going to know anybody. So it's nice to see Teresa. I'm going to talk about a very boring subject, and that's credentialing. So I hope that I can infuse something into it that will make it less boring. I'm going to go over the current credentialing process, a review of English learner authorizations, and some things that's happened that unintended consequences of some changes that were made in 2001. Rethinking the process, and it's very important right now for people to be engaged in the process. It's being rethought. And then what is on the horizon. I want to stress that anything that we do is because of the children in our classrooms. This little girl is named Marissa. She's at a school. My department also provides an after-school program to 40-something schools and over 1,200 kids. And Marissa is in one of our programs, and her school last year made Safe Harbor, so we're really pleased. And this is very typical of the children that we have in our after-school program. The credentialing process is can be daunting, but I really pulled it down into three main areas. First of all, somebody gets a BA degree, and then they go into a preliminary program. That's not the way it is in all states. In a lot of states, you can get your credential at the end of your BA. But our state has chosen to have something called subject matter competence. So people get a degree, they demonstrate subject matter competence, and then they go into a preliminary program. If you notice, it says in the preliminary that it's an embedded English learner authorization. At one time, it was an overlay by the name of CLAD, Cross-Cultural Language and Academic Development. But what happened with the districts wanted people to receive their English learner authorization as part of their credential, which happened under a bill called SB 2042. But it's had some unintended consequences that I'm going to discuss later. And also, the English learner authorization was not given until after the CLEAR was completed. Now they get the English learner authorization at the end of the preliminary. And induction, which is job embedded, they practice what they've learned in the preliminary. And in our program in Ventura County, we do a lot with ELD. And I'll describe what English language development is in a minute. But there's no mandate to do that. So basically, the English learner authorization is crammed now into a 33 unit program, and that has caused some problems. Then we have advanced certification. That can be added authorizations, national board certification, or something under No Child Left Behind, verification process for special settings. So there are some advanced certifications for teachers, however, no income, no incentive. Now, CLAD. The English learner authorization is still called CLAD, although the CLAD test is gone. There is an important distinction between SEDI and ELD. SEDI is specially designed academic instruction in English, and that's to provide all kids access to the core academic areas. So if a child has a language proficiency on a CELT test as a 1, you purposefully design the curriculum to give them access to the core. They have a CELT level of 3 or 5. So teachers developing those strategies takes time. And I would say in a 33-unit, 1-year program, that is really not the time for our kiddos to develop the skills that they need to purposefully choose strategies for those kids of differing English language proficiency. English language development is just that. It's developing their English skills in listening, speaking, reading, writing, but particularly in academic areas. We know that in high school, we train math teachers, science teachers, PE teachers, how to provide kids with an ELD lesson. BCLAD is bilingual cross-cultural language and academic development. Its primary language development is to provide support in kids' primary language, and content instruction is to give them primary language instruction in the core academic areas. Since two things happen. Teresa alluded to this. After the advent of Prop 227 and also with SB 2042, the purpose for BCLAD, or the reason for having BCLAD teachers, went way down. And right now, we have, not every CSU offers a BCLAD program, not every UC offers a BCLAD program, and only about 18% of our private universities offer a BCLAD program. I think it's about 87, I did this over the weekend actually, about 87% of the CSUs, which is high, 3/4 or 66, 2/3 of the CSUs, or 66%, offer BCLAD, and the university about 17, 18% of the privates. Because there's not they don't have kids who will go into that. However, I want to just mention this real briefly. With AB 815 and the State Seal of Biliteracy, we need to have really highly trained BCLAD teachers who can help those kids obtain the State Seal of Biliteracy on their diploma. I'm not going to go into this. It's pretty technical. This is what I deal with every day: how to get a CLAD, how to get a BCLAD option. We get out-of-state teachers. I get called from other county offices to help them with this. Now, the credentialing process is looking like it's going to change. As I said, SB 2042 limited the amount of training that a teacher got in English learner skills. So what the commission is proposing is that in a preliminary credential, that ELD and SEDI, now ELD is English Language Development and SEDI are special strategies, will be embedded in multiple subjects, but in single subjects, it will embed SEDI only. So they're suggesting that there be a new credential called World Languages in English Language Development. If a student decided to get that, they would teach like the newcomers. They would teach kids with lower English skills, but they would also be credentialed as an English teacher so that the kiddo in those ELD classes could get English credit towards graduation. And here's the new chart. If you see single subject, which is middle school, high school, if you look over, the current is that they receive after end of 1 year in a preliminary program, SEDI and ELD. The revised would be that they only get the SEDI. Then if you go down the list, single subject English as a world language, English language development. There's an advisory panel that's going to be put together to develop these standards. And the advisory panel has already done its work. Now what they're doing is they're putting together a standards panel to write these new standards for world language. And the revised would be that a high school teacher then would be able to teach SEDI and ELD. The one thing that our districts are most excited about is the English Learner Specialist Instructional Leader. Right now we have We have EL coaches, reading coaches, you name it, we got a coach for it. And what this would do is this would say it would be voluntary, so we're not looking at the proliferation of credentials, but it would at least give the district a clue that this person was bilingual and biliterate in 2 languages. And the districts would like this. They said this would give them some, when they're hiring people to take on these coaches' positions, they would have a better idea of the quality and the caliber. This whole chart was really put together by our bilingual directors statewide, and they support it. There's a real rethinking of the whole credential process. In 2004, WestEd and REI, which are research think tanks, did a whole thing, and they said that with the advent of 2042, that cultural proficiencies and English language learner proficiencies, competencies that teachers had, would go down. We have found that that has actually happened, and so the commission is trying to adjust. They're putting together, the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, they are putting together some panels to rewrite the multiple subject standards on cultural proficiency and on English learner proficiency. They're also, and that would go for multiple subject, single subject, but this time they're looking at principles, writing proficiencies, cultural proficiencies into the new principal or admin credential, also for psychologists, all of the services, OT, speech and language, and to make everyone in the educational system responsible for knowing, having a sensitivity to the culture of the people that they're working with, and also the English learners that they're working with. These are on the horizon because at the time 2042 was written, these were not thought of like RTI, response to intervention. These were things that were not even around. So this is a good time for the commission to do this. You see in the first paragraph, it talks about the learning to teach system. We're talking about recruitment, systems of recruitment and retention. This may be out of play, a little out of place, but I wanted her in there. This is Erica. She went through a teaching academy that I had in the early 90s. She went on to Cal State Northridge, got her degree. Her education was supported through the Paraprofessional Teacher Training Program. She's a first grade bilingual teacher in Oxnard School District. She's married and has kids of her own, and she comes to visit me, and I always have fun when Erica comes by. I took that picture of her when she graduated. Her family, it was very difficult for her when she went through high school, and her family decided not to go to her college graduation, and she came and asked me if I would go, and my husband and I schlepped out there, and we took pictures and bought lace and everything, and just a very, very special young lady. She's very well thought of in her district. But getting them early, getting them in those academies, and if we can recruit kids like this, I thought about a feedback loop, because what we're getting is, she's a B-clad teacher, and we need teachers like this in our secondary so that our kids can have teachers who are really bilingual, biliterate, so that they can earn this state seal of biliteracy. Unless we actively recruit teachers like Erica, our kids won't have the opportunity to even get the seal on their diploma. And on the horizon, AB 5 Fuentes, the Teacher's Best Practices Teacher Evaluation. In his bill, he talks about measuring multiple measures of the degree to which pupils acquire English language development standards. And why is this important? The commission is recognizing it's not happening, and they're rethinking the credential process, but it's very important to ensure that understanding and implementation of assessments to inform instruction and to monitor process. We don't know, after they get out of our teacher prep programs, whether or not they're actually using them. And we need a way to monitor and be sure that they are using these things that we have taught them, these practices. And then another important bill this year, AB 250, meeting the challenges of the 21st century. We need to be sure that all pupils are provided with the resources and learning expectations necessary to succeed and be competitive. And language is a big part of that. It's an important part of it. And before I leave, this is a teacher that we have. She's a BCLAD teacher in our after-school program. Of all the programs that I direct, I think I'm most proud of our after-school program. I do know that these kids, they gain a lot when they have BCLAD teachers. I didn't want to go off on this. I had to limit what I was saying, but if you look, 67% of all teachers, okay, let me go the other way. 17.8% of teachers in this state identify themselves as Hispanic. 50% of the kids identify themselves as Hispanic. There's a recruitment gap that we need to get through, and we really need to encourage and recruit teachers for the future to help our kids meet the challenges of the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lovo. We'll take questions after all the panelists are done. Would that be okay? Thank you. Just make sure we get the program going. Our last speaker, Mr. Warren Fletcher. He is the president of United Teachers Los Angeles. Mr. Fletcher's entire education was obtained in one zip code. Maybe you could tell us the zip code. He attended El Sereno Elementary School, El Sereno Junior High School, Wilson High School, and he got his English degree from Cal State LA. His teaching career started with Los Angeles Unified School District in 1978 as a teacher's assistant. And in 1983, he began his classroom experience as a teacher. Mr. Fletcher was first elected to the board of directors at United Teachers Los Angeles in 1986. He also served on the House of Representatives, bless his heart, as the UTLA Elections Committee co-chair. Mr. Fletcher was chapter chair at City of Angels from 2001 to 2011. I served in the House of Reps, so I understand how that. Everyone from UTLA understands what I mean. But here's our UTLA president, Warren Fletcher.
Thank you. While we're getting the technology set up, because I need someone to set it up for me, as the assembly member said, I started teaching in 1982, and at the time, a mouse in the classroom was a bad thing. It's now a good thing. Again, my name is Warren Fletcher, and I'm an English teacher in LAUSD, and for the last couple of months, I have been the president of United Teachers Los Angeles. The issue that I'm going to be addressing is a very hot-button issue right now, which is teacher evaluation. And I have to have kind of a balance here because I need to get through all the material that UTLA folk have asked me to get through, but I do want to encourage a setting where if there are questions or concerns, I'm hopeful I'll get peppered with some questions because, as I said, this is a hot-button issue, and we want to make sure that UTLA is part of the discussion from the beginning. Dr. Spiegel-Coleman talked a few moments ago about the growing gap between English learners and English proficient students. It's something that how we do teacher evaluation in the coming months will greatly influence that gap and whether it gets wider or narrower. It's very important that we do teacher evaluation right. And I'm just going to recount very quickly. I was in a radio forum with our superintendent, Dr. Dacey, in LA Unified, and the discussion came up. Actually, it related to college readiness. One of the folks who was at the forum, one of the audience, said, "How does a union address the issue that students who go from LA Unified or other district and come to the Cal State system or come to other universities, those folks need to take, those new college students, those freshmen, need to take, what do you call them? Remedial, thank you. Remedial programs, remedial classes. And the fact of the matter is I am a school teacher, and I'm operating in an environment where there are cross pressures on me, and there are cross pressures on every teacher in every classroom in California. Since Dr. Dacey was there, and Dr. Dacey, fine man, well-intended, wants the best for the kids just as we do, but Dr. Dacey has pushed for tying teacher pay directly to test scores. And what I said was, I'm an English teacher. I know that when I teach writing and that when I teach literature, I am building my students' capacity to express themselves in complex ways and to understand complex written material. And to the extent that if at some point in the future my pay is tied, or even my continuance in the profession, but if my pay is tied to how my students do on a specific set of standardized tests, there will be a huge amount of pressure on me to stop teaching literature, to stop teaching writing, and to teach, read this 5-paragraph selection, tell me what the topic sentence was in the third paragraph, etc. And it's interesting because the room I was in, there was a lot of teachers in the audience. And remember, I'm the president of the teachers union, and I said, superintendent, if you're telling me you're going to cut my pay unless I stop teaching writing and I stop teaching literature, you're going to have to cut my pay because I'm going to continue to teach writing and I'm going to continue to teach literature because I have an ethical duty beyond my pay. I have an ethical duty to the students in my classroom. And amazingly, a room that was about 2/3 teachers, they all started applauding. Their union president talking that way. So teacher evaluation is huge, and it is huge to all of us in the profession. And English learners specifically are facing the deadening of the curriculum. And those students, more than any other students, and I speak both of English learners and standard English learners, those students, more than any students, need to have experiences in complex writing, lots of experiences in complex writing, lots of experiences in complex materials, in reading, not just, to borrow the phrase we teachers love to use, drill and kill. We have an opportunity right now. It's strange because when there's a teacher shortage, funny thing happens. My principal, if he's sitting there and he's got 5 probationary teachers, 3 of them are fantastic, one of them's pretty good, one of them not so great. Does he move them into permanent status? When there's a teacher shortage, he's under a lot of pressure. I got to get the classroom filled. During a teacher, and there's only one word for a teacher surplus. There's pink slips being issued all over the state. During a time like this is the time when we can redo teacher evaluation. And if we're all honest on all sides, we can create an intellectually honest teacher evaluation system. A system that 5 years from now, when there's a teacher shortage, because people aren't going into induction program, 5 years from now when there's a teacher shortage, if we build the kind of evaluation system that we can, we will have a system that will be so intellectually honest, it will do that identifying. It will be a check to that economic imperative, which is part of the issue of we as teachers want to protect our profession. We want our profession to have the highest quality. We want to be part of policing that quality. And I use policing because it is about day-to-day, like a cop on the beat, teachers in the classroom, teachers at the school site. That having been said, I wanted to go over, you can see up on screen, and do I push the little right button? Okay, just checking, thanks. So now just note, this is a working draft, and I'm going to go over basically the UTLA House of Representatives, the body that I respond to, the body that tells me what to do, has come up with the 10 principles that are going to guide how UTLA approaches the evaluation process and how we approach whatever changes may come in that process. And any successful evaluation system will, first and foremost, strengthen student learning, build collaboration and teacher leadership, and this is important, provide mentoring and differentiated professional development for all teachers. And that means all teachers, not just after you've completed your probationary period. New teachers, teachers who are at various points in their careers who are struggling or in need of support, and also effective and accomplished teachers. Any evaluation system needs to be realistic. Or to put it the other way, an evaluation system that purports to solve all problems and save the world will not be effective, because that's just true in all policy areas. Such an evaluation system needs to be comprehensive. It needs to address recruitment, induction, how we approach permanent status, how we intervene when intervention is necessary, and how we tailor professional development. And it needs to be designed for the future. We need to have new ways to prepare and support teachers. And I've heard a lot of wonderful things about how we are trying to perfect the preparing part. At our end, we want to get as close to perfecting the support part as possible. And it's very important that there be multiple career path options for teacher leaders. That essentially, you become an excellent teacher, okay, done. We have to maintain our purpose. As educators, we all know that the core purpose of education isn't simply to prepare children for colleges and careers. It's important, but it isn't the entirety of what we do. It's also about the bigger picture. It's about creating citizens. It's about democracy. It's beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's about all the things that make a student a real citizen. And let me see if I can get my right button to go. There we go. Now, I will go through these very quickly. UTLA didn't just cook this up. Our House didn't just cook this up, our House of Reps. We did polling of our members, and our House of Representatives approved the 10 principles back in November 2010. Number one, first principle, an evaluation system has to focus on improving teaching and student learning as the goal. It has to be, and for those of you who I assume everyone here who's at an education summit knows the difference between formative and summative. It has to be about helping teachers get better, not just giving a grade at the end of the year. It has to be about improving instruction. It can't be just a focus on sorting teachers, and I already addressed some of the perils of merit pay, tying pay to test score. Any evaluation system has to systematically encourage collaboration instead of encouraging individualism and competition. All the teachers at the school need to be working together to serve all the kids at the school and to improve service to all of the kids at the school. There we go. Evaluation system needs to involve teachers in the development, implementation, and oversight of the evaluation process. In all spheres, top-down implementation simply does not work, and the evaluation system has to embed, evaluation has to be embedded in a broader reform agenda, addressing the other factors that address and impact teaching. We have an obligation to provide adequate learning conditions, safe, clean schools, reasonable class size. You know the list. I say you know the list because being the union president, I was about to break off into a half-hour speech about the list, and I know I have a short period of time. Any evaluation system additionally needs to provide for a mutual accountability system where we are interacting with principals, and to the extent we heard from ACSA, we need to, Association of California School Administrators, we need to be in discussion with them about how we build mutual accountability systems that aren't gotcha in either direction. And an evaluation system needs to differentiate between, we talked about it before, periodic summative evaluation and professional growth. Most existing systems only address summative, the end. You're up, you're down. Not, we get to June, you win or you lose, versus we're in December or January. Here's what you need to improve. Any system to be effective has to use data. Teachers are not afraid of data. Teachers welcome accountability, but it has to use data fairly and wisely to inform instruction. Standardized test scores can't play a part in high-stakes decisions. If there's a direct link, what I just talked to you about a few minutes ago, basically stripping down the education. If there's a direct link, it can't work. And I know you're all familiar with value-added methodologies. Most everyone here is from Southern California. For those of you who are from the other parts of the state, we had our local newspaper, the Los Angeles Times, through a Public Records Act request, got student test scores, applied their own algorithm to those test scores, and then issued an entire database that anyone in America, anyone in the world could look at, rating teachers as effective. I'm trying to remember the categories. Effective, ineffective, terrible. I don't remember. Highly effective. Thank you. And now, a couple of things. One, and I'll go into it in a second, value-added models but the U.S. Department of Education itself has said that that a value-added model has a 25% chance of giving a wrong reading based on its own parameters. And as a union president, I'm going to say, oh my gosh, you mean that guy could be a really good teacher and there's a 25% chance that he could be identified as a terrible teacher? Let's flip it, parents. How's about that person is a terrible teacher and has a 25% chance of being identified as a wonderful teacher? Value-added and the other element in value-added models as they're being used is it goes on the assumption that the basis of all teacher evaluation systems must come down to the public shaming of teachers. And when the LA Times, when the LA Unified School District and the LA Times basically worked together to create this process, it did a huge disservice by poisoning the well for teachers to be able to talk freely and openly about objective measures in evaluation. Because we've seen what's happened. We've seen that the goal of many proponents, I'm not going to say all, but the goal of many proponents of value-added systems is teacher shaming. Moving forward, it leads to unfair and inaccurate ratings, and most important for your student, it's not timely or diagnostic. It does nothing to help anything. Moving forward, our eighth principle, any evaluation system must be integrated with a system-wide program of continuous growth. A district cannot change and improve its evaluation system without also realigning how it does professional development. Our ninth principle, that any evaluation system must provide high-quality training on all aspects of the evaluation framework. And a very important word coming up, new evaluations cannot be implemented or even piloted until all participants are fully trained, and a key word, calibrated. When you do evaluation, whether you're evaluating the alignment of tires on the front of a car, whenever you do any sort of evaluation, the evaluator must be calibrated. It can't be opinion. It has to be content. I'm going to move forward, and as soon as I can make this thing do this, any evaluation system has to be implemented in a realistic timeline, subject to teacher, administrator, and district management oversight. In other words, independent oversight of the process to make sure that it stays true to the goal of being both formative and summative. Can't be left just to the on the teaching site. I'm going to complete with value-added assessments according to National Board for Testing Assessment. There are a number of important practical difficulties with using VAM scores that are in operational or high-stakes program evaluation of teachers and principals because they're not fair, reliable, or valid. And let me see if I can get that page to come up. Oh, heck. I always hate it when we have to load one after the other. But I'm not going to read this to you. And finally, UTLA is in the process of developing a comprehensive approach. We understand that UTLA is a union, and we're going to have to bargain with our school district. We're just passing out, and please note, it says draft. Please note, it says draft. But we have a copy of, I guess, what would I say? It's sort of the circuit diagram of where we're trying to take this. And I'm going to close by saying that not just UTLA, but teachers throughout the state, but I'm going to speak specifically in Los Angeles. We understand the peril of changing teacher evaluation and getting it wrong. We understand the opportunity of changing teacher evaluation and getting it right. We're ready to talk, and as teachers, we're ready to lead the discussion. because we know as decision makers, as legislators, that you are going to make the call, and that if you don't have teachers in the room, you're shooting in the dark. We are ready to lead on this issue. And now do I retreat? Okay, I didn't know where to go. And then we have questions, right? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I left out our closing quote.
Thank you, Warren. Okay, this is a good opportunity for us to do some question and answers. We have a few minutes left, so we can go ahead and do that. If you have any questions, raise your hand. We have a microphone here that could allow you to be heard. Any questions? With Mr. Pacheco, did you have one earlier? Yes.
To Dr. Lovo.
I'd like you to state your name and your...
Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Ralph Pacheco, Whittier Union High School District. You mentioned in your opening statement that there were unintended consequences for the implementation of the BCLAD legislation. Could you articulate what that is?
Of 2042. And that is that we have found that the level of services provided to English learners is not adequate, particularly at the high school setting.
Push the button.
Oh, there. We have found that the level of services to English learners is not adequate, particularly at the high school level. And the advisory panel at the commission in their forward describes those problems that they have found and the reason for the new world languages credential. The other thing is we have found that the level of implementation of cultural proficiency training at the induction level is not sufficient. Although it's in the standards, it's not being monitored the way that it could be. So that is an issue that is going to be addressed.
And I would argue it's the same in the CSU. What's happened is initially when you had CLAD and BCLAD, you had a number of courses that you could take. Yeah. Those were reduced, so they have less exposure to ELL and culture.
I think one, and I've said this publicly to the commission, and that is that I think that induction is a wasted opportunity. At the end, by trying to cram everything into a 33 unit preliminary program, things have become so diffused that they've almost become invaluable. And before 2042, the English learner authorization was not issued until they got the clear. Now it's issued after the preliminary, so there's no monitoring really that takes place in the induction phase as to cultural proficiency and, well, there are three areas: cultural proficiency, special education, differentiation for children with special needs, and teaching English learners. And so I proposed, when the advisory panel was meeting on the world languages thing for secondary, that they look at the way that induction has been rolled out, so that there would be some monitoring and accountability during the induction phase for making sure that particularly ELD was taught effectively.
I'm Janet Davison. I also attend the commission meetings as a representative of the CFT, California Federation of Teachers. And I was very excited to hear about the new credential that they're doing because it offers for the, because it's a world language that can actually qualify, the English classes can be qualified like a French class would be for the A through G requirements, which means that that's an advantage. And then when they're advanced classes, because those same teachers do have an English credential, they will also qualify when it's an advanced class for one of the English classes that are also required. The problem they discussed was that you're putting a complete English credential and an ELD credential into a one-year preparation program that is not really resolved because it's not really possible. And they also talked about why in the elementary schools they didn't make it separate. It's not because it isn't an equally difficult problem. It's just that practically to have ELD teachers in an elementary school is not logistically possible. But I think you've been sort of skirting around it in various comments that we have to look at the rule that says you have to have a credential that's a one-year preparation program, because we're now putting it into induction, and induction is its own issue. And I think we really have to look at the challenge of teaching English learners and how we can meet that by maybe looking at the way we structure teacher preparation.
There is a bill that was passed a few years ago, Scott, SB 1209, which many people interpreted that induction programs couldn't offer professional development in teaching English learners and in differentiation for special education. It's been interpreted as that. That's not correct, that interpretation. I run one of the biggest induction programs in the state, and in our induction program, they do ELD. They are required, every teacher, to write and be observed twice on an English language development lesson. And that's why I'm saying, instead of diffusing and these credential areas, take that 2-year period of induction and look at it critically to see what can be done to more closely monitor and let's say, for example, multiple subjects received the ability to teach SADI after the preliminary and then got the ELD authorization after induction. That it wasn't professional services, it was certification that said we would have to then issue it would be too hard to track. So it was CTC certification that sort of blew that away. But I think that we need to, right now, while they're relooking at 2042, they call it 2042.2, is that correct? That we need to put everything on the table and say, what is it that we need in the 21st century when 50% of our kids identify themselves as Latino, and then we have another group of kids, of immigrant children from other countries coming in. What do we need to do to better train our teachers?
I'm Deborah DeVries from Oxnard. I'm a credentialed teacher and a former trustee and a college professor. And I have a question for Mr. Fletcher. It has to do with the evaluation process. And I would just like to know what you would comment on that concept of calibrating with integrating the comments that were brought out in the movie Waiting for Superman, or the textbook, with the negative consequences of some in negative instructional capabilities of some teachers, with the consequences for students and parents, and how that could be incorporated into the teacher evaluation process.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ms. DeVries. I apologize. I didn't see Waiting for Superman, so I'm no, sorry, but I'm. However, taking the framing statements you made, and you're going to need to correct me if I'm going in a different direction. You talked about calibrating, correct? Okay. Let me describe it the way I would from my perspective. I'm an English teacher. I have a California English credential, which means that I am actually legally authorized to grade. You know, the high school exit exam has a writing sample. I'm legally authorized to grade it because I'm an English credential teacher. However, I wouldn't, if I wanted to go make extra money on the weekend and do that, I wouldn't be able to until I was calibrated. In other words, I would have to first go through a process where when I'm doing that evaluation of that writing sample, I am basically calibrated, I'm given the rubric, I'm given the bounds, and when you're calibrated, what happens is, okay, I take the calibration training, I do it for 6 months, then they check and see if the scores I gave kids are, like on a histogram, are within the range that, or whether I'm grading kids all sorts of different ways, meaning I didn't calibrate properly. And if that's the case, then they tell me I can't grade high school exit exams anymore. Using that to frame the concept of calibrating in evaluation. My principal's a nice guy. I like him. However, he is in no way calibrated. He's a music teacher. I'm an English teacher. He is in no way calibrated to even comment. I mean, not even comment. He's a teacher, and he's a good guy, and he's a good educator. But if we're going to have I worry sometimes that a lot of us in the education world are in love with data but allergic to facts. And the fact is, he's a music teacher, and I'm an English teacher, and he needs to be a big part of my evaluation because I'm not just a teacher, I'm also an employee. He needs to talk about whether I play well with others, whether I show up on time, etc. So he's a huge part of my eval, but part of my eval needs to be someone who is calibrated and who honestly doesn't have an axe to grind. I got a great principal, but I've known principals who, when I vote the wrong way at school site council, my evaluation shows it. If you understand what I'm saying. And it's unfair to administrators to put them in the spot where they have to separate from the, he's my boss, he should evaluate me. But he needs to be part of my evaluation along with a calibrated evaluator who's brought in like a human measuring device. And those are two of the three elements. The third element that's absolutely necessary is my colleagues. Because if there's anyone who knows if there's a weak 4th grade teacher at my school, it's all the 5th grade teachers. We as teachers need to be brave enough to have those conversations, but brave doesn't mean sign me up for a simplistic value-added model that's 25% likely to be wrong and is basically a tool for shaming. So since I didn't see the movie, did that come close? Not even a little. Sorry.
I would like to say, before I spoke as Paula Lovo, okay, now I'm speaking as the AXA representative. In AB 5 Fuentes, there is a section that says that that evaluators will be calibrated. And we at AXA support that. What we're concerned about is the funding to be able to do it appropriately. So we really, truly support that principals should be calibrated before they evaluate.
Education is like healthcare and building bridges. Doing it cheaply is rarely doing it well.
Yes, we have any more questions? And just to add a little bit to that, I know when I was when I taught for 10 years at East LA and before I became a state assembly member, I really valued when our principal came into my classroom and actually saw me teaching and would take over the lesson at times, and I stand back and just watch him, and I would get so much out of that. And he would evaluate me accordingly. And that when they had time to come into the classroom and actually do their work, evaluate. They're the master teacher of the school. They're the ones that are supposed to be teaching us how to do our job. Not in a mean way, but in a way of helping us. But as I progressively got to my 10th year, I saw less and less of the principal because that principal moved on. They got a few new ones in and out. And they never had the opportunity to come into my classroom anymore because they were stacked up with all kinds of paperwork they had to do, and they had to run the staff and run the school. And it really took away time away from them to really be in the classroom and help us, the teachers. And I'm hoping that as part of the principals being calibrated, yes, we got to make sure that they taking away all these unnecessary duties that they have to do and really be in the classroom with us, because I found that was the most valuable. And also watching other teachers in action. I mean, that was going to other experienced teachers, master teachers, going to the classroom and seeing them working. Wow, I learned just way so much just being a part of that. And that's something that we did consider as we move in through this new evaluations and so forth. But I guess we're at the time where we gotta go eat. And for those of you that are viewing via web, we will be returning at about 12 o'clock noon. So be watching us back again, and we have a lunch break between now and then. Thank you so much, and see you in about 35 minutes. Let's hear it for our panel.